Augusta. You're watching News 12 live at 5.
Live at 5, the search for victims continues after a Baltimore bridge collapses earlier this morning. We'll have the latest on the search efforts and how officials are responding.
And is the bare minimum enough? We take a look at how our local schools are measuring up and how a Georgia bill could save your student's life.
But first, we're heading over to First Alert Chief Meteorologist Riley Hale because we've got some rain chances for you in just about 10 minutes. Thanks, Riley. AEDs, also known as automated external defibrillators, can mean the difference between life and death if someone goes into cardiac arrest.
But right now, they are not required by law in all Georgia schools, only high schools. Our Sydney Hood joins us live at 5 in our newsroom. And Sydney, this could change soon.
These life-saving devices are already in all Richmond and Columbia County schools, but this new law also requires schools to have practice drills and an emergency plan, something one mom tells me could have possibly saved her son's life. This is 13-year-old Monty Rouse, your average young athlete and a picture of good health. But while Monty was playing in his very first middle school basketball game, he went into cardiac arrest and died weeks later. His mom says he was healthy and passed his sports physical with no red flags. She says had she known this was coming, she wouldn't have let him play.
Really can happen to anybody at any time. And if you have the right people in place and the right processes in place, then you can potentially save a child's life. I know he'll be proud. I hate that it had to happen, that he had to lose his life before the bill was passed.
The bill to require AEDs in all schools is currently heading to Governor Kemp's desk to get signed into law. Coming up all new tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock, how one mom is turning her pain into action to hopefully save future lives.
Thanks, Sydney. We can only imagine just how devastating it was for this mom, but hopefully saving others.
Absolutely. Such an important thing that needs to be in all high schools and middle schools. Thanks, Sydney, for keeping us updated on that. Well, 6 people are still missing after a container ship rams into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, live at 5, you're looking at the aftermath of that bridge after the early morning crash. The ship's crew issued a mayday call moments before the crash took down that bridge, according to Maryland Governor Wes Moore. That led authorities to limit how many vehicles were on that bridge when it was hit. Still, at least 2 people were rescued from the water, and the search continues for several people who were filling potholes when the bridge would collapse there. Now, in South Carolina, Governor Henry McMaster says he's been in contact with Governor Moore and has offered resources to help with the recovery efforts. McMaster says the Palmetto State might see an uptick in port traffic due to Baltimore being a major shipping hub.
They recognize that we may see some increased traffic coming into our harbor because of the inability of the ships to go into the Maryland harbor. I'm informed that it might take as much as 3 months or maybe more for them to clear the wreckage.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp also sharing his thoughts and prayers with the city of Baltimore. President Biden says he will be traveling to Maryland as quickly as he can and says he intends for the federal government to pay for the entire cost to rebuild that bridge.
A man once falsely linked to a South Carolina cold case is now filing a lawsuit against the Justice Department. In 2012, Timothy Taylor was named a person of interest in the disappearance and death of 17-year-old Brittany Drexel. An FBI agent testified in court. Several people came forward saying Taylor was involved in Drexel's disappearance. Taylor was never formally charged, though, in Drexel's death. Many at the time said it would be very difficult for him to have harmed Brittany, given he only has one arm after losing the other in childhood. In 2022, 60-year-old Raymond Moody admitted to kidnapping, raping, and then killing Drexel. Now, Taylor is suing the Department of Justice, claiming the FBI used false narratives and that they continued to pursue him even after they had evidence that Moody was the real killer. The FBI says it will not comment on active litigation.
The trial against Leilani Simon, the Savannah mother accused of killing her baby in 2022, could begin by the end of the year. Today, Simon appeared in court for the first time since July of last year. She's accused of killing her 20-month-old son, Quentin Simon, and disposing of his body in a dumpster. Now, today we learn there is still important forensic testing that needs to be done before the case can go to trial, which the judge said today that she wants that to begin at the end of this year. Leilani is facing 19 charges, including malice murder and felony murder.
South Carolina drivers likely pass by buses or devices every day that law enforcement say are crucial tools to investigate and prevent crime.
But some lawmakers want to put more restrictions on them, saying they're ripe for government surveillance and abuse if left unchecked. Our State House reporter Mary Green has the details.
A bill that's currently in a House Judiciary Subcommittee would impose regulations on the cameras located all across South Carolina, known as automatic license plate readers, or ALPRs.
They collect this information about your license tag, which seems innocuous until you realize it's kind of like the data in your cell phone that you didn't realize was so important. We should not, the government should not use this data to track citizens that have committed no crime.
Every time a car drives by, these cameras automatically take a photo of the vehicle and its license plate and record data capturing when and where the plate was read. But some say there's little oversight over this system, making it ripe for abuse. This bill would impose restrictions on who could access this database and for what purpose, and limit how long the photos and information in it are kept. Law enforcement told legislators Tuesday that their existing systems retain data for 30 days, and they say they need access to this tool to bolster public safety.
Criminals are becoming more sophisticated, and the public expects more out of law enforcement. And because of that, we have to utilize the available technology out there to stay ahead of the game, and we're not ahead of the game.
Meanwhile, there's an ongoing lawsuit challenging the use of these cameras. SCDOT says it's halted approval of any further license plate readers pending that litigation's outcome and whether any legislation is enacted here. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
Now, lawmakers say they want to work with law enforcement on this bill to strike a balance between protecting citizens' data from misuse and ensuring law enforcement can use it to stop crime.
Still ahead, meteorologists are studying the impacts of hailstorms. This is in hopes to protect our homes from damage. We'll show you how next. Riley?
I got a new roof from a hailstorm just a couple years ago, so I'm looking forward to watching that. We do have some rain and potential storms for tonight and into tomorrow. We'll have that full forecast next.
Time and temp. Brought
9999.
Watch WRDW News at 5:30 weekdays for What the Tech. Sponsored by Augusta Preparatory Day School, leading the CSRA in STEM education.
Necessarily a ton of rain for them over the next couple of days. Once we get into Friday and the weekend, sunshine returns and temperatures warming up, seeing the 80s again by Sunday.
Thanks, Riley. We're no strangers to the occasional hailstorm in the south, but meteorologists are studying how to best protect your home from that damage.
Griffin Hardy shows us how.
We're here at the Insurance Institute of Business and Home Safety down in Richburg, learning about hail impacts. They've got a full freezer full of hailstones up to 2 inches here and a hail cannon that they shoot at shingles to figure out exactly how much damage they can do. 3, 2, 1. Dr. Ian Giamanco is the lead research meteorologist here at IBHS and met with fellow hail researchers from the Northern Hail Project based in Alberta, Canada. Their main goal is to find new ways to construct homes and businesses that help mitigate costs from damages brought by severe hailstorms.
And so it's very important as you start to get tired of dealing with replacing your roof from hail damage to look for better performing building products that can actually remove some of that frustration of having to replace your roof every 3 or 4 years.
And in the lab, there's a huge amount of equipment they use to replicate realistic hailstones. Even getting the chemical composition of each hailstone along with the size is considered during testing.
To create our laboratory hailstones, we actually use dissolved carbon dioxide to help introduce gas and really tiny, tiny bubbles that mimic some of the same structure and strength that you see in natural hailstones. We want hailstone number 7 to be the same as hailstone number 205. So we've got to match those ice properties to be able to shoot them at the different materials so they get a fair shake in how we understand the modes of damage. Now again, which ones perform well, which products don't perform well.
The practical application for what's being done here is what Dr. Giammanco says is one of the most rewarding parts of the research they get to do here at IBHS.
A lot of times when we do research, we're doing it to get a better scientific understanding. But in this case, we're not only learning and advancing the science, we have a practical application for all of us who have roofs, who have walls that can get damaged from hail. So that's one of the most rewarding things about this work.
So they get to shoot hail out of cannons. That's pretty cool. I want that job.
That's what you got from that. I got from that, let's figure out ways to protect our home. And Riley, maybe what's next up for them will be trying to figure out how to protect our cars.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways that research can go. I mean, not just our homes, but a recent story that just came out is a big solar farm just took a big hit from a giant hailstorm, and now they're completely trashed. So how to kind of protect our renewable energy sources as well as could be a great way for them to kind of progress that forward. But yes, we've had some large storms here in the CS area over the last several years. I was included in one of the spots that did actually replace my roof from some severe weather. So I'm hoping they do find some good results from that research and make some more better roofs for sure.
I think the key might be the metal roofs. Those ones seem to look like they would stand that hailstorm a little bit better.
Yeah, but I mean, every roof has its, pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
So,
Riley, we're not going to have
sounds loud.
And the real question is, do we have any hail moving in tonight with the green behind you?
That is good news. Not expecting large hail with these storms, but producing some lightning. So if you are hearing thunder out there, definitely stay inside. And we are keeping the rain chances pretty high heading into tonight.
Absolutely. We'll check in with you after this quick break. But first, illegal machine guns on the streets of Georgia against a ticking clock. One Georgia lawmaker is looking to stop it, hoping to protect families after losing her own.
When you download the 1226 First Alert weather app, you've got access to the best local and most trusted weather team just a click away. Live radar, First Alert forecast, and more. Whether your skies are sunny or severe, you'll be ready with the free 1226 First Alert weather app.
Water.
Can't even fix it.
You or your family could be hit by stray gunfire from blocks away. That's because of a tiny device police are finding on the streets of Georgia.
It's called a switch, and it instantly turns a semi-auto handgun into a machine gun. Brendan Keefe discovered both criminals and hobbyists are illegally printing these machine gun conversions at home.
15 rounds, 30 rounds, sprayed from a regular handgun.
Converted to fire like a machine gun.
With a single pull of the trigger. On the range and on the street. So many shell casings, officers are running out of evidence markers and are forced to use paper cups. This tiny switch instantly turns an ordinary pistol into a machine gun.
This handgun without the switch, single fire. One press of the trigger, one bullet comes out of the gun. But because it has the switch, it will now fire full auto.
Even experienced shooters have trouble controlling a full auto handgun. Here's the ATF agent who showed us how to use it. Knocked back by the sheer firepower, the bullet's way off target.
You could be sitting in your bedroom. You could be sitting at your kitchen table. Bam. From a gun that powerful.
Sandra Scott is a member of the Georgia General Assembly.
Representative Sandra Scott.
Just days before this year's legislative session, her cousin was killed by stray gunfire.
It was his son's birthday. He thought his dad was coming home to celebrate, but his dad ended up in the morgue.
Scott had already introduced a bill to add state prison time for possession of a gun switch, a full year before her cousin was killed.
A bullet don't have a name on it.
In other words, it's going to kill whoever it hits.
That's right.
This isn't a hypothetical. They're finding these on the street.
They've been on the street for a while.
Atlanta police are finding more and more gun switches on suspects.
And that's a federal crime, sir. Oh my goodness. A switch? Stop!
sometimes after they go off. This officer was saved during a struggle for the gun only because the full-auto weapon jammed in the mud. In other cities, officers have not been so lucky. In Houston, a single gunman with a switch took on several officers, and another Houston police officer was killed by full-auto gunfire when serving a warrant.
At 1,200 rounds a minute, that means the magazine is empty on a single pull of the trigger, and we don't know where those rounds are going to go.
Correct, in a matter of seconds.
The ATF showed us just how easy it is to download a gun switch from the internet and print it at home.
How do you stop something when you can 3D print it at home?
That's the million-dollar question.
If they're doing that without an ATF license, this is a federal crime, right?
100%. It's a federal crime, and they could go to prison, federal prison for it.
Now, there is no state law against them, but Representative Scott's bill hasn't made it out of committee. Meanwhile, the city of Chicago is suing Smyrna-based Glock, saying its weapons are too easily converted to machine guns. Chicago PD has recovered 1,100 Glock switches since 2021. No response yet from Glock.
Well, it is Tuesday, so we are back with our next winner for the Plunkett Heat and Air Sunshade giveaway. Congratulations to Sophie Vasquez from Evans, Georgia. To enter to win, all you have to do is go to WRDW.com, click on contest, and you can enter your email right there. We'll have another look at your forecast just after a short break. Just about 10 minutes.
All right, thank you, Riley. A local mom claims her young son left daycare with several knots on his head and
goes towards the interstate. So if you are heading from downtown, likely going to be some slow-moving traffic there on Riverwatch Parkway. Looking out to Grovetown next, this is where that shower just passed overhead. So wet streets, definitely be safe on the roadways. They could be slick in a few spots, but right now it looks like traffic's okay there off Lewiston Road. Have much more on that forecast for you in just about 10 minutes.
All right, thank you, Riley. A local mom claims her young son left daycare with several knots on his head and later a black eye.
All of this unfolding on March 15th, the mother says, when she questioned staff at the Children Academy for Learning Daycare on North Lake Road, they repeatedly told her nothing happened to her 10-month-old child, nor would they show her the footage from the infant room. Hallie Turner is live at 5 in our newsroom. And Hallie, you sat down with this mother who is understandably upset. Walk us through the next steps that she's taking.
Yeah, well, first she filed a police report, but right now she's back in the waiting game as Georgia Departments of Early Care and Learning investigates. But had she not reported this to the state, she says she fears no one would have ever known. The single mother of 4 tells me as soon as she noticed the knots and black eye, she went straight to the emergency room. The report she showed us from the medical center says baby E did not have any neurological damage, but the question as to how he got the injury remains a mystery. She says the reason she chose this daycare was because there were cameras, but they wouldn't let her see the footage.
And I said, hey, did he fall or something happen? Because I'm a very fair and understanding mother. But she said, no, ma'am, nothing, absolutely nothing happened. And it infuriated me because I'm sitting here looking at my son who has 3 contusions on his head, severe swelling on his forehead, and the daycare is telling me that nothing happened. I chose it because they had 24-hour surveillance video, but after this incident, I have asked for the footage, and he's given me excuse after excuse, and still I don't have the footage.
Now, that's when she filed a complaint with DeKalb, and that's when DeKalb tells me they opened the investigation. And this isn't the first time DeKalb has paid a visit to this daycare. But the mom had no idea that she could check any of this before she made her choice. So coming up all new tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we're on your side with how to save you from missing documented red flags when it comes to childcare.
Scary situation for that mother. We know you'll continue to follow this. Thanks, Hallie, for shining a light on this important issue here.
Yeah, and teaching other parents how to be proactive and look up these documents. A man now facing felony murder charges and more after a deadly shooting in Millen. This happened early Sunday morning at the Annie P. Chase Veterans Center, according to the GBI. The victims have been identified as 28-year-old Tyrell Brown and 48-year-old Maxine Jones. Now, just in the last hour, we learned 28-year-old Raheem Whitfield is being charged after he turned himself in. No word yet on a motive for all of this, but of course, we will continue to follow this story and keep you updated.
We're learning more about Augusta's response to the cyber attack that hit the city last May. That's when several central city services were hit, including Augusta utilities and some emergency communications. Now, it took months for everything to go back to normal. Now, nearly a year later, we're still learning more about what was actually done to stop the attack. All new on News 12 at 6 o'clock, our Craig Allison breaks down new data on what the city was doing.
The SRP Park College Showcase continues tonight with Augusta University taking on USC Aiken.
Our News 12 sports team is on hand to help us get ready for what should be another fun matchup tonight. Dan, take it away.
It never gets old. Going out to the ballpark, soaking in the atmosphere, and enjoying America's favorite pastime. Between Aiken facing off with Strom Thurmond last night and the Jaguars hitting the diamond to play the Pacers tonight, baseball is in the air, and it's just a beautiful thing. News 12's Alyssa Lyons joins us live from SRP Park. Alyssa, as we prepare for the Green Jackets to open up their season, the grounds crew at SRP has been hard at work with all these high school and college games.
Hey, just in that last time that Riley had this view up from a different view, we just got a huge chunk of rain that just came through, and that's another reason why they put on this tarp not too long ago. It's been on here for quite some time, probably for the last 15 minutes. You know, this is just another part of the test to get them ready for when those big games roll through. And they've had 7 tests, so hopefully they'll get an A++ when this actually happens later on this season. Tonight will be their 3rd college showcase in addition to the HBCU Classic earlier this month. SRP is definitely showing off in more ways than just one. Having these showcases like these fills a ballpark that would otherwise go empty this time of year. At the high school level, it lets fans and players who can only hope to play at the next level get a feel for the big leagues, and for those closer to the big leagues, it gives fans a chance to see them before their names are one you'll hear in your living room.
To be able to see the level of excitement that it gets with the fans when Georgia was here, when the Gamecocks came, when Georgia Southern, they had a much bigger contingency than I would have thought. And then tonight, just based on what we've already heard and what we've already seen, people are excited. This is a local rivalry. This makes it exciting, and it's big for the players too to get some of these guys, you know, it's a taste of where they have a chance to go when they get done playing, especially in those SEC games.
All right, first pitch is still scheduled for 6:35. They're going to let us know in the next 15 to 20 minutes if that's going to get moved back another 15 to 20 minutes. So make sure you stay tuned and stay alert to whether or not you make that trip out to the ballpark earlier or later on this evening.
And thank you, Alyssa. We're going to keep an eye on that first pitch time to make sure that everyone knows when to get out to the ballpark for another fun game between the Jags and the Pacers. The South Carolina Gamecocks are out on the gridiron first.
All right, thank you, Dan. The Battle of the Books is underway in Aiken County. It is a quiz bowl style competition where teams of students work to answer questions about a pre-selected list of 10 books. Now, they've studied these books for most of the school year. This is a district-wide competition, and each school's winning teams will go head-to-head to determine this year's district champion.
These questions are very, very detailed. They've been written by a group of librarians, and it's really to test the kids' reading comprehension. So these students have read incredibly carefully throughout the year, and they get the honor of taking home the championship trophy for the year to be in the library. And every school who's won puts their name on the side as some bragging rights when it comes back the next year.
Today, Hammond Hill Elementary won, and tomorrow, the middle schoolers will compete.
Bans against transgender student athletes in Georgia are facing a vote in the Senate today. Just ahead, our State House reporter Abby Kasoris will have the latest. Riley.
And high rain chances expected this evening and tonight, but may not necessarily be a washout for everyone tomorrow. We'll have that full forecast next. Time hit in the water. For Easter Sunday, that's going to be the warmest day we see for the rest of this week, with highs back into the low 80s.
Thanks, Riley. Live at 5, some lawmakers hope 2 bills regarding transgender youth will squeak through this week and become law in Georgia.
One puts limits on access to high school bathrooms. The other makes it harder to get prescription drugs often used by transitioning youth. Our Georgia State House reporter Abby Kasoris has the latest.
It's a multifaceted bill taking aim at transgender youth. Republican senators adding additional substitutes to 2 bills they say protect kids. State Senator Clint Dixon presenting his changes to House Bill 1104, adding 5 anti-LGBTQ bills to existing legislation, restricting transgender athletes from playing on sports teams that are not the same as their biological sex, mandating that transgender students will be required to use separate locker rooms and restrooms, and banning sex education education before 6th grade.
Very excited, very important piece of legislation to empower parents and protect kids.
LGBTQ advocates joining with Democrats holding signs condemning the bill.
Human rights are trans rights. Trans rights are human rights.
They say this bill risks the health and safety of transgender youth.
I'm wearing my fatigue today, honey, and I'm ready to fight.
Their chants heard by senators.
Discrimination!
In the Senate chamber, opposition from Democrats couldn't sway Republicans. The measure made it through the Senate chamber, passing with a party line vote.
This is an amalgamation of what we call culture war bills, where a small fraction of voters in one party are controlling state law for everybody.
I disagree with that. I mean, what about females? You know, how we need to protect females and the sanctity of their playing their sports. If males want to play sports, they need to play it in male sports.
The Senate has a full agenda, including a bill that would ban puberty blockers for youth. They could go well into midnight voting on these bills. If they don't take it up today, tomorrow is a working day, meaning the next time that they could vote would be on Thursday. In Atlanta, I'm Abby Kasouris.
You might have heard by now, not all wipes advertised as flushable actually are. Well, now a settlement reached by the Charleston water system and several manufacturers will benefit you as well as the environment. This is just some of what Charleston's water system says they found in their pipes. The so-called flushable wipes don't always break down, and they can cause huge blockages. Now a legal victory over wipes manufacturers and retailers like Costco, Target, Walmart, and more will lead to change. By next summer, nearly all flushable wipes across the country will truly be flushable, and packaging will clearly state if the wipes should not be flushed.
Millions of people are going to try to get video or photos of the eclipse with their smartphone, and many of them are going to ruin their camera. I'm Jamie Tucker, coming up with some of the things you need to know before you try to get that magical moment.
First Alert Radar, powered by Jim Hudson Automotive Group.
It's time. Make an appointment online. Give us a call or just walk in.
In less than 2 weeks, a solar eclipse will be visible to millions in the U.S. In Augusta, we'll see about 75% or so of that eclipse.
And the last solar eclipse to pass over the U.S. was 7 years ago, and the tech to capture those images have changed. Now our consumer tech reporter Jamie Tucker shows us how we can take the best pictures with our smartphones.
What the Tech, sponsored by Augusta Preparatory Day School.
Smartphone cameras are a lot better now than the last time a total solar eclipse was visible in the United States. Better exposure, better lenses, better zoom. But you can improve your chances of getting a great shot without damaging your phone.
And the first thing you should do if you're shooting the eclipse is put the phone in airplane mode so a call doesn't interrupt your shooting. You'll need a solar filter. You can find them on Amazon or Walmart for under $10. And if you're in the path of totality, you can remove the filter, but put it back on to cover up the lens before the sun peeks back out.
Be careful with these because they can slip, and if they do and your lens is exposed to the sun's rays, you could permanently damage the sensors inside.
Now put the phone on a tripod. Some tripods like this one come with an iPhone holder and a shutter button so you won't have to bump the camera to record once you have it set. And once you have the sun in the frame, tap the screen to focus as much as you can. And then during the eclipse, lock the focus and exposure again as the light changes. Change the settings to shoot the eclipse in RAW format if you have that option. Pro photographer Rick Murray says the morning of the eclipse you should also update your phone.
Because the last thing you want to do is moments before totality have something pop up. You must update your app, and you've missed it.
Another idea is not to shoot the sun at all. Rather, take photos and videos of how things on Earth look. 7 years ago, I was at a pool party in the path of totality. Rather than shooting the sun, I set up a camera to record people and their reaction, and then sped up the footage until the end.
But remember, there are professional photographers that will be sharing their images shot by equipment much better than your smartphone camera, so you may just want to sit back and enjoy it, but just don't forget your glasses. That's What the Tech. I'm Jamie Tucker.
And again, the CSRA will see roughly 3/4 of the solar eclipse. So if you want to see that path of totality, you want to aim for that Kentucky-Illinois state line, which is about an 8-hour drive from here.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and members of Congress are all standing behind the push for another deepening of the Port of Savannah. Yesterday, they toured the port where the funding would come from to expand it. A water resource development bill could be discussed in D.C. as early as this summer, according to Representative Sam Graves.
And it is important to me. It's a priority of mine to get this study done and see the port widened and deepened.
The first step towards widening the port would be to conduct a study for the need and a cost estimate. The last deepening of the port wrapped up in 2022. A former College of Charleston employee is accused of stealing thousands of dollars worth of rare fossils. Now, this includes rare dolphin fossils and 3D prints of other rare fossils and hundreds of records from the Macy Brown Natural History Museum.
Search warrants were executed to get all of the allegedly stolen contents back, but get this. Reports claim the former employee allegedly bragged about taking these from a museum and had a box labeled, quote, "definitely not stolen mineral samples." Now, no word yet on whether they will face any charges. I don't think they're going to be searching in that box anytime soon.
Definitely not.
I don't know.
Definitely don't.
Don't look over here. They're definitely not
Definitely not a bad idea to steal things from a museum, Riley. Definitely not.
All you gotta do is hide in plain sight. People will never see it. Just like that. Good stuff. Hey, we do have some rain moving through the rest of tonight, but luckily by Easter weekend, the weather will be exceptional. We'll have a look at that 7 to 8 just after break.
Oh, yeah.
Spring into wildbaby.com. Click, click.
All right, good news to show in our SRP Park Cam. They have taken the tarp off the field, so hopefully we can continue this game tonight against USC Aiken and Augusta University. We are reporting rain out at Bushfield. Temperatures have fallen into the upper 60s, and I would say if you are heading out this evening, I would bring some rain gear with you. Here's a close look at our radar network where we are seeing some rain right here near the state line, just near our building, and even a thunderstorm passing over Columbia County into southern McCormick County. So also some strikes of lightning embedded in some of these showers. So we'll call them some thunder showers ahead of a cold front that will continue rain tonight, and for some of us heading into tomorrow. This is a look ahead to tomorrow morning. Pretty widely scattered rain out there, and then as we get into the afternoon, really favoring areas south of Augusta to see that best opportunity for rain. But then for Thursday, we do start to dry out.
All right, thanks, Riley. Stick with us. We have more news, weather, and sports coming up after a short break on News 12 at 6 o'clock.